You have been clickbaited. Not because the $10,000 number in the title is not real. It probably isn't. It's more around $8,000, but it's Australian dollars. So, is that actually real money? Probably not. I still think around $8,000 to $10,000 in sales in your first week selling cards is still quite impressive. In this video, I'm going to try to break down exactly what I did, how I sourced the cards to do that, where I sold them, also where I went wrong, where I already know I went wrong, and what I would do different if I was in the same situation. I'll try and show the numbers, or at least be honest with the numbers as much as I can as I go throughout. So if you're like me, curious about selling Pokemon cards because you love the hobby, wondering if it can still be a legit side hustle or even business, in what I think a lot of people would say currently is an oversaturated market, then stick around. I think I'm proof it still can be, and it can still just be something fun to do. Firstly though, it's my first video on this channel. I want to go through who I am, how I got into Pokemon, into TCGs and cards, and just collectibles in general. My name's Matt. I'm Australian, hence the Australian money. 29 years old, very close to 30 already. And I've been a Pokemon fan my whole life, or at least as long as I can even remember. I've played every single video game that they've released, and I used to play the TCG, also the One Piece TCG. I'm not just some like business veteran or person that switches between the latest hot trend, seeing the money signs in their eyes. I'm just someone who loves Pokemons. I love collectibles. And I figured I could try and make a little bit of money on the side to support myself in collecting in the hobby, while also at the same time helping others try and find the cards that they want to add to their collections. Along with that, I've decided to start this channel to, one, just for myself, document the process and see how we go from here into the future, and hopefully just provide some insight, be helpful to others in the same boat or trying to get into the same boat and struggling. I'll try and keep everything as real as I possibly can, give practical advice based on my experiences, and hopefully it helps someone. On to what you are probably actually here for. How I made the sales and sourced the cards. And unfortunately, I don't really have any like hidden tech or secrets to share with you. Like I said, I used to play the Pokemon TCG. I last played when Stellar Crown released, which is probably right before the big scalping problem and being unable to find any Pokemon product ever in any store became a thing. The last set that I bought, Stellar Crown, I walked into my store, I traded some cards I had, and just picked up a booster box and walked out. So I was never really around for the real problem until recently when I got back in and I've seen what the market has become, I've seen what Pokemon has become, and just sort of TCGs in general has become. Yeah, it's certainly something. Anyway, I was moving things around my house recently and came across a bunch of my cards that I had from when I used to play. Since I don't have time to play and don't play anymore, I was just going to sell them to my local game store, make a few dollars, not really think about it again. Which I did. I took them in a bunch of like playables from back then, which not all of them are playable now. They rotated out, so they weren't really interested in all of them, but a lot of, like the Vs and V-Stars and EXs and things they took for, I don't even know the percentage, just a few dollars each, really. In this process, though, obviously, it sort of got me back into Pokemon and made me look at some of the prices myself, finding, all the apps that are out there now that people use to price cards. And in that process, I found vendor POV videos on YouTube, which was something that I didn't really know happened before. I knew that there were people, say, at regionals or worlds that vended and sold cards, but I thought that was just to players to try and get them cards to play, not really like as a way to make income and sell to collectors. And that really led me down the path to potentially try that. It really kicked up that edge to get back into collecting, even though I just sold most of my cards at least. I really got that addiction coming back to try and get some more. So from there, naturally, started looking on Facebook Marketplace, eBay, at my local game store for deals or cards that I wanted, with the hope to sell them. So I was preferably looking at bigger collections or just a collection of cards that someone wanted to sell at a percentage at a lower rate to try and get rid of them so that I could keep the cards that I wanted and sell off the rest. Like, people sell these collections or a bundle of cards all the time at a reduced price just to offload them all at once and not have to worry about them selling them individually, pricing them all up, going through all that drama. Like I said, with the apps now, like Collector or any of the ones you want to use, really, it's so easy to take a scan or input your card and get a potential market value that someone can use to sell and or buy. This sort of sourcing or buying period, I'm not counting into this first week because it wasn't all with the intention to sell. Obviously, I wanted to collect some of it. I wanted to keep some of it, but this probably started around like mid-March to end of March, knowing that I wouldn't sell it straight away. So if you want to say it's not within the first week, then sure. I did sell a few things before this week as well, just here and there, a few little things that I knew people put up, like wanted to buy a post that I just had some of the cards. But there definitely was no big sales before this week. The reason I really started for this week as well is in eBay, we just went through a change where eBay in Australia, we just went through a change where eBay changed their fee structure for casual sellers generally. So people that had sold under $25,000 within the last 12 months, they structure it as you have no fees, but really you're passing the fees on to the buyer. So in order to get a sale, you have to price lower. So essentially you still have fees, but it's between the 4 to 8% range rather than the 12 to 13% that a standard seller would have on eBay. So it certainly is a significant jump, and certainly is a help when you're first getting started, as you don't have to try and compete on buying price or selling price as much to compete with the larger stores. You can list basically at the lowest and still get a profit if you're buying at a low enough percentage. Essentially, knowing all of this going into it probably leads to my first mistake. What that mistake was is I went over budget. So when I started out, set a budget for myself. I don't have unlimited money. Needed to have a starting point of this is how much we can allocate to cards for the business. Now, that's very good in theory. However, I just kept seeing deals coming up, people selling between 70 to 80% on Facebook Marketplace, on eBay having deals or having discounts for some things that I could buy at auction and get them cheap enough, and not really knowing how much of this I could even sell at that point. I was all buying just with the hope that it would sell and the knowledge of others' videos of vending and eBay stores that they were selling, so cards must be selling. Also seeing the up and right of Pokemon cards, basically hoping that that would continue, essentially. So even now, knowing how much I've sold within that first week and making like a profit on those, I would still urge you, if you were in my situation, to set a budget and stick with that. Whatever that budget number is, eventually you will be able to sell it, make a profit, expand your inventory, hence expanding your purchasing power, and it sort of all just compounds over and over again, and eventually you will end up with a bigger inventory. I wouldn't recommend spending money you don't have right now, as it is a collectible market, and at any point people could stop buying. So just because it works right now for me and it's worked for others, stick to the money you have, stick to what you feel safe allocating. Just like any investment, don't overinvest in anything. The strategy maybe I would recommend if you are on a limited budget, is just to find the best deals, because there is a lot becoming available. Some people selling 80, 85%, 90%. It's all good. You can make a profit on all of those numbers, especially with the eBay fees being lower, or selling on Facebook Marketplace, selling individually, waiting for someone to buy at market or very close to market. However, in a limited budget space, just finding the best deal you can just generate more of a profit. It'll take a little longer, but ultimately I think that's okay. You'll see a lot of creators say that speed makes money, which is ultimately true. The more you can just turn over your cards, even for limited profit, the more you'll eventually make. However, in a money limited environment like I was, and probably most of you are as well, it can just be more beneficial to wait for those good deals and not be stuck with inventory from a worse deal that may just not move and you're just stuck on. So don't FOMO, don't think you're missing out on anything. If you miss a deal, another one will appear. Okay, on to the number you're here for, the $10,000. I said it in the intro initially, it's a nice clickbait number for YouTube. I didn't sell exactly $10,000. It was probably more around $8,000. That's between eBay sales and in-person deals as well. That number was just revenue, not profit. I don't know the actual profit from those sales. Even if I did, the amount of expenses in the first week that you have will largely negate that, and you'll most likely be in the negative, like I assume I am. Out of this, also you've got the cost of inventory, eBay fees, shipping costs, packaging materials, and even time investment if you want to include that. Take up a large majority of your time to potentially not make a lot of money. Even so though, $8,000 of sales in 1 week, not even just in 1 week, in the first week that I started selling cards was a real shock. I obviously came in knowing that the Pokemon market right now, or the TCG market in general, is like really, really hot, really up and to the right. Everything's sort of gaining, everything's selling. Still having basically no references on eBay for multiple years when I only sold things from around the house. I expected to use time to gain traction, gain positive references, gain that like safety in buyers that you are a good seller. I did happen, however, so many people still bought, which I'm very grateful for. And I think it generally shows what's possible if you approach it properly. Have a plan in place to start with. Know that you can meet your turnaround times for shipping out good cards, taking good photos, reply to as many messages as possible within the same day, if possible for you. And just being honest with your cards. Even in the small amount of cards that I've sold now, I've definitely sold some cards that are lost just due to the condition I bought them in. You don't always have time to go through someone's whole collection, make sure that they've condition checked them correctly, and adjust values based on that. Sometimes you just have to set a price and hope that they've done a good enough job, that even then, that's not always the case. This honesty still does help create trust and potentially return customers, though. They don't know what you bought the card for. They don't know the profit or loss you're making on them. That doesn't really affect a customer. They just know what you showed them in your listing and what they got. And if those two things match, it can create a really positive experience for them. And when you're first starting out, it's a massive win if someone will just return to buy a card or multiple cards from you again. All of this essentially gave me two sort of feelings within that first week. It certainly made me feel a lot better about the overspending, as I said, as it appeared that I would be able to quickly make back the money that I had overspent and put into my inventory. And number two was that I would have to be faster with sourcing and being able to list items quite quickly to be able to keep with this sales number, because not having a massive inventory and a massive amount of dollars invested in the inventory, if you're selling $8,000 a week, it can be quite hard to keep buying that amount when you're limited on not just being able to buy a $100,000 collection and sort of roll that over while you try and source more. If you're trying to source smaller collections like 2,000 to 5,000 in a week or multiple times in a week, that can be quite challenging. Since then, I'm recording this video way later than the 1 week. I've been way too busy to get this done, get all the equipment, get everything ready. So it's been about 6 weeks now that I've been selling. That's not including the time taken to edit this. I don't know when I'll actually get this video out. However, I haven't maintained $8,000 in sales every week. I'm not uploading new cards every single day, which does push, especially on eBay, push sales towards you, because that's just how the eBay algorithm works. The newer cards sort of get fed to people. They have alerts on, those sorts of things. However, I'm still at around $20,000 sold at this point. I haven't checked the actual number, and that'll differ depending on my editing time, of course. So the sales have still definitely kept coming in. And there's no, I don't think it's shown evidence that it's going to slow down to a certain point. And potentially if I buy another big collection, upload a lot more, the sales, my hope is that they'll go back up again. So if you're like me at the start, on the fence about it, as long as you have the ability and time to probably commit, this can certainly be an effective side hustle. And if you have more money, more time, a full-fledged business if you want to. This is just the beginning for me. Like I said, around 6 weeks in, first YouTube video. The plan for me is just to keep buying and selling currently as I am, trying to maintain it around my regular job and my life as is. But I also have my first time vending at a card show coming up in what will be under 2 weeks for sure by the time this video is out. I'm really excited to see how that goes, as I've just been using online platforms now and vending looks really fun. I plan to try and use this channel to document as much as I can through the journey, starting with my next video being what I have also purchased to start vending and what I think I will need for that, and then followed by a video after my first time vending, what went well, what I did bring, what I did right, what went wrong, what I didn't bring and hope and wish that I had brought. Mixed in, of course, I'll record a vendor POV if that's something that you're interested in. So if you want to be part of the journey or want some helpful, useful advice as you're thinking about doing something similar with Pokemon, with any trading card, and want to see where this goes, it'd be really helpful if you hit subscribe. If you're looking for more educational YouTubers out there, for the eBay selling, the most useful person out there, especially in the Pokemon space, is Pokemon Steven. His YouTube videos are still there, still super helpful, still shows you how to do everything you need to do. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.